There's no better way that I would rather spend the 200th episode of Coast to Coast Pinball than talking all sorts of different topics with friend of the show, friend of mine, and pinball, I don't know, luminary, superstar, hotshot, good dude, Josh Sharp, which is what we're going to do tonight on episode 200 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast commentary. I'm a man out of quarters. Thank you very much for joining us here on the official episode 200 of Coast to Coast Pinball. It's been a great ride. I don't even feel like we've accomplished all that much. We've talked a lot about pinball. It's been fun. It's been great, but we're still going. So we're not going to do a retroactive. We're not going to look back on old episodes. We're not going to talk about the history because the story is still happening, right, Teresa? Right. Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Say hi, everyone. They just said hi to you in the future. It's a weird time machine thing.
Hi, everyone. Happy 200th episode.
Why are you talking like that?
I'm not talking anymore. Oh!
Aha! I love you. So, here we are. It's episode 200. Glad to be here. Josh Sharp is going to join us. Jody Dankberg from Stern Pinball is going to join us. We got all sorts of stuff to talk about because we're looking forward. We're not looking back. So let's do this. Let's get Josh on the show. Welcoming to episode 200 of Coast to Coast Pinball from a Target in Greater Chicago, Mr. Josh Sharp. How are you?
See, it was way better when we did it the first time and you thought I was at a Starbucks and had to move to a Target.
There are no technical difficulties on this show. That does not happen.
I'm going to be... Oh, see, I get to correct myself too. I'm going to be the first person to wish you congratulations on episode 201. See,
you're very smart. It is.
I won't waste my time. Thank you, being the first person to thank you for episode 200.
Don't do that. No, I appreciate it. It's been great. You are the most. You've been on the show more times than anybody else. You are the most common.
I'm sort of the John Papaduke of podcast hosts. I show up and I just talk. And then you do all the work to get everything done for me.
Okay.
And it's out. I don't actually do anything.
Okay, let's go there. You want to go there? Let's go there. What did you think? Because you were like the only person, literally, you were the only person in the pinball world, besides maybe your father, who knew John was going to come on the show. I don't think any of us actually thought John was going to come on the show.
I still didn't think John was going to come on the show.
I didn't think he was going to come on the show. And then he did come on the show. What did you think when you listened to it? And be honest. Don't be my friend. Just tell me, as Josh Sharp, pinball guy, you heard the story from John Papaduke. What did you think of that?
Do I have to pretend like I don't know John?
No,
because that's really hard.
No, Josh Sharp. What Josh Sharp? You pretend you don't know me.
Sad. Just sad. Sad. Really sad.
Yeah.
Sad. Just sad for someone that and like I didn't have money in on it, so I don't have that anger. I can empathize and sympathize with those people that are angry and thought it was your duty to do whatever for them. But like really, it was just listening to the equivalent of him falling on his sword, I guess, or whatever his goal was. But just bad and sad.
Yeah.
And just totally helpless. And even like reaffirming, when he was getting into like the manufacturing being the easy part, it's like, why don't you call Jack and Andrew Highway and all these people where the manufacturing is the easy part?
Out of all the things where people said, you didn't follow up, that is the one spot of that show where I actually, while it was happening, it was long, first of all. That show went a long time. When he said, no, the manufacturing was the easy part, I wanted so badly to be like, what? Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Read one more time, but I knew what he said. But I think he believes that. I think he thought he could easily build games in his shop. And hey, I don't build games, so maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know that he could.
I think I've had a chance to chat with some of like the ex-Williams guys about it since the episode, and I think there's like, and you can throw names out there that like nobody knows, like the Jim Sherds of the world and the Mark Waynas of the world that like all the guys that like made the, all the harnessing and all the cable guys and everyone who like was building the Titanic for all of these games, and both of those guys are now at Stern doing that. Like the team that the designer has behind them is such an integral part of, it's like the Cubs are playing tomorrow night. It's like our pitcher is amazing. And if he was out there by himself, you still need 8 people behind him to make plays, or else he has to strike everyone out. And that's not going to happen. So there's this sense of like team that helps to build stuff together. And if you have that team, I would say the manufacturing part isn't too difficult. If you have a seasoned team that does it all the time, but without that team, it's impossible. And John, he doesn't have the team because he didn't have the team.
I remember back when I first ever met him, and I actually had just really talked with Charlie at Spooky Pinball pretty deeply about building and whatnot, and I asked John, literally, that question. I said, who's going to build the games? And he looked at me kind of like, well, I'm going to build it. We're going to build it. We are going to build the games. Right. And I said, what about the wiring harnesses? And I remember now, and this is just me remembering something from way back, he said, well, we'll have somebody do those for us. And if you go back to that, if you're sitting on a large chunk of money at that time, it's probably pretty easy to tell yourself, I'm going to hire out the wiring harnesses on this thing. But as the money goes away, so does that option.
Yeah, that was probably the part where it was like I went back to shaking my head no, while listening. A lot of the interview stuff, it was boilerplate, John's sort of self-realizing stuff, and then that was the stage where I was like, are you kidding me, man? Like, come on. Like the building part is the one thing that like that Stern is the only guys that really have it right still. Like an automobile company of just like making the donuts, man, pounding it out.
Yep.
And Raw Thrills, we don't do that. We don't manufacture games because we're smart enough to know how hard it is and don't want to deal with it.
Still no pinball games from Raw Thrills? Still?
Not yet.
No, I hear a yet, so that means there's a chance.
Not yet. There's always a chance.
Always a chance. Interesting. Love it. Okay, so you're ranked number 18th in the world on the IFPA World Pinball Player Rankings, which you also happen to be like the president of.
Yes.
So last episode, I think I made a comment about maybe Jorian Engelbrechtsson, current number 1 ranked player, possibly being referenced as the best pinball player in the world. Got some email, got some feedback that sparks.
Got some feedback of probably mostly feedbacks from Americans that
the Americans do not agree with me.
We're supporting our country, man.
Yes, I got a lot of like, no, dude, Keith Elwyn is still the best. Do not say otherwise. And what I actually told one person in a reply today, I said, I think it's pretty easy to say that in the past, in the history of like high level competitive pinball, Keith Elwyn's probably the greatest at that. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think there was a time. So like, I think whatever the little blog post I wrote up on Jorian winning major number 5, it's like the all-time greats are really Lyman, Bowen, Keith, and Jorian are sort of the 4 guys that are in that conversation. And if you look at sort of like the history of that, like Lyman was, and I guess Rick Stetta before that, kind of only because there weren't enough tournaments to be played.
Sure, there wasn't the level of competition that there is the last few years,
Like Lyman, it's sort of like on Facebook I've been seeing like which NBA decades team would win. Did you see that like random picture floating around?
I did not see that.
It's like the starting 5 from like the 90s, the 80s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and it's like, everyone's like 90s. Oh my God, Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. And I would side with the 90s as well because I got to live in Chicago and witness the Michael Jordan greatness. But like Lyman in the early to mid 90s was unbelievable. He transcended how you played competitive pinball. And at a time where like there isn't this access now like we have to be able to watch, great players play. I got to like watch Lyman play twice a year and be like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like Keith has now been like so good for so long. And I think when he was on the other podcast that he was on, he talked about sort of like reaching that semi-retirement level of like, he'll play when he plays, but there's nothing left for him to do in the world of competitive pinball. It's like when Tiger Woods when Tiger Woods passes, if he passed Jack Nicklaus and his 19 majors total, it's like there's nothing left.
I heard that interview, and I've talked to Keith about maybe coming on the show, especially leading up to Papa, when we sort of bring the players on and do those kind of like deep player profiles about their history playing. And that's what I thought too. I kind of got the feeling of, why is this guy designing a pinball machine? Because he's done everything else. Because he's beat everybody.
We crown the world's greatest pinball player with whoever finishes number one each year, and like we literally, because we make the trophies every year, it's like in my folder, it's called the Keith Trophy.
Yeah.
Because it was like he won it every year. Since we had started, he's just been on this eternal tear. And I think we're seeing the beginning of, and it's tough to even say the beginning of Yorian, but like if you look at like Lyman, who just finished second at EPC, which was unbelievable, he hadn't even had a top 4 finish in a major since 2008. So that's a 7-year break. And Keith has like 8 majors? Like if you go back 7 years, Keith won like 6 Papas in the last 7 years or whatever. Like the amount of time that has passed for everyone but Lyman to sort of accumulate and add legacy to their career. Like Lyman is still up there with these people just based on what he did from 92 through like the mid 2000s.
Does Lyman always go to the European Championship, or is that sort of special?
He doesn't. He was out there he was one of the speakers.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, second place, that's amazing. Second
place, amazing.
Awesome. I was looking on Yorian's player profile on ifpapinball.com, and literally, when you go to the player versus player and you can see who has, a better record.
Yeah.
I think there's like 8 players that have a better record against Yorian than he has against them. One of them being Zach, your brother. Uh-huh. Actually, a pretty impressive record, 20-29 against Zach. So Zach's done very well.
Zach, he doesn't mind facing Yorian. He likes it.
Keith Elwin.
Did you see
9-28?
Yeah. How do you see how many people that Keith has a worse record than?
It's 0, correct?
It is 0.
It is 0. Yeah, he's all green on the board. That's pretty amazing. And I'm looking at this list of everyone. The other people against Yorian. It's Neil Schatz 8-9, Andre Masenkoff 12-16, Bowen Cairns 9-21. Stellan Blomqvist 6-8-2.
Oof, I got to put my money on Stellan.
Yeah, David. I don't know how to say his last name. Gremillet.
The Gremlin, the French Gremlin.
3-4-1.
He's good. He's really good.
Ed Hershey 1-5-0. Ed Hershey 1-5-0.
He won a Papa Classics in 2004.
There you go. And Ken Delicio.
Okay.
2-4. So that's it. That's the list. So I just wonder if, we've seen kind of the rise of Europe a little bit, it's not just Yorian anymore, or, at all. I think it's going to be very interesting the next few tournaments with Keith and Yorian, because they're both playing great pinball right now. It's not one of these things where like Lyman, one of the greatest ever, you wouldn't say he's playing his greatest pinball right now.
No, yeah, he's definitely he's definitely on the back nine of he's Michael Jordan in a Wizards jersey these days, and Michael had some good nights in a Wizards jersey.
Absolutely,
but it's just, and the games have evolved too. Like, the level of sophistication of games in like those '90s Williams games. Versus, like, there's a lot more strategy involved to games these days. It's a different game, and the idea of like people doing live catches and doing flipper skills, like people didn't do that stuff. Even good players didn't do that stuff 10 years ago, and it was more about like Lyman did drop catching, like dead flip bounces over, and had the most incredible accuracy I've ever seen. And that was it. No tap passing, no live catching, none of this. He just did that and made his shots and won tournaments. And a lot of that just came down to, being able to handle those nerves and perform at the highest level at the best times.
Okay, remind me again, because we're about to go to Expo, and we've got the Sturnament. We've got the Trent Augustine 128 qualifiers for the final Sturnament coming up. Looking forward to it. 128 qualifiers makes me feel like I should probably qualify for the finals at this time.
It means they need to get 128 players. You may be able to qualify without playing a game. I don't know.
I wasn't going to go there, but that is possible. Although unlikely. I think they'll have 128 players. What should I be thinking about going into play all these? And it's a fast tournament as far as game speed goes. This isn't a mixed up bag of, I might have a fun house here and this there. These are Stern games for the most part, and they're going to be playing pretty quick. What should I be thinking about when I'm trying to qualify in these games?
I think, are there any new Stern games that you're not that familiar with, or you'll be able to be pretty comfortable in terms of stepping up and knowing what, the anti-Pinburg, where you walk up to Pinburg and it's like, what the hell game is this?
I'm not super clear on how to try and score on Mustang. So if you want to do a Josh's cheat sheet here on Mustang, by all means.
Let's see. There's some, so the drag race mode is a multi-ball mode, and I think that's bottom center.
Yep.
I'll usually play that second after road course.
Is it the bottom row, the bottom full rows, the cars to kind of play?
The bottom. Well, there's there's 2 rows of cars.
Oh, there's 2 rows. Yeah.
So road course is top right, maybe.
Okay. See, I'm a mess on this game.
I'll do that first, and then for qualifying, I'll try to make sure that I'll get a 6th gear multi-ball would be awesome. But a 5th gear is okay. For you, I would say cashing out for a 5th gear multi-ball and getting a super or 2 would be really nice.
All right, tell me like I'm stupid. Explain it like I'm 5. How do I get a 5th gear multi-ball?
So, super skill shot. Hold the left flipper, full plunge. If you can get the ball under control and shoot the A target, which is the center drop target on the bank, it will advance you 2 gears.
So that's all I got to do. I got a super skill shot to the left flipper, catch the ball, or at least get it under control. How long do I have to hit that target?
I think it's first switch. So you have a while, I think. You just can't hit anything else or else it goes away.
Gotcha. Can I soft plunge? Or do I have to...
You know what? You can probably do what I do in Metallica, which is, hold your left flipper to activate the super skill, but then soft plunge.
Soft plunge down to the right flipper.
There you go. Maybe I'll try that, Shivers. Look at you.
Look at me.
Cheat sheet with Nate Shivers.
That's what I do.
So being able to advance gears, those are huge because it spots you a full set of drop targets. And those things are front and center, and
dangerous.
They can be little bitches to try to knock down.
Yeah.
So the first 4 gears are just knocking down the targets. To get to 5th gear, you got to knock the targets down and then hit either of the spot targets behind the drops.
Gotcha.
And then 6th gear, and that's on a timer, or else they pop back up. So it's a lot of just bashing targets, hoping to survive.
Okay. All right. I have played that game with some medium bits of success out in the wild, and then I've played it a couple times in tournaments or league settings and just gotten crushed on it. Doesn't do well for me. You have The Walking Dead at home, and I know we've talked about it before. It's evolved even more since I think we talked about it. What are your thoughts right now on the current code of Walking Dead, and is there anything new we should sort of be thinking about when we play that game?
No, it's even better now. It's so much fun. I don't know if Trent will have a pro or a premium. I'm guessing he'll have a pro, so the strategy that comes in with the walker bombs and stuff won't be available, which is unfortunate because it's awesome. But I think, it really comes down to if you can stack for a good qualifying score, you're going to want to do Bloodbath, Riot, and Prison and go to town if you can.
Thank you. That's the important part. If I can.
If you can.
Interesting. All right. Very good. So let's talk about the IFPA Whopper Points rules changes that will be affecting tournaments. Starts next year, correct? 5.2?
Starts next year.
Okay. So you announced this right after I think you were on the show last time, and literally maybe the day after. Which thank you. And
I need to give us something to talk about the next time.
oh, I see. Okay, so I saw tons of feedback. There was forum posts. I'm sure you had emails. There were scenarios thrown your way. What were the major changes? I know that the direct play aspect was a big thing that came up. Talk about why these changes were made and what you think, how they will help. And, I guess the idea is always to make the system more fair for the masses.
Yes. So the goal, and something before our technical difficulties last time, I will say that I did get a lot of love email about it, and I got a lot of hate mail about it. And like you, I almost enjoy the hate mail more because
it means they care. It means that they actually care what you're doing.
It means they care. So like with every release, I live in fear. And certainly the first time, back in 2006 when I posted sort of like, guys, I have this idea that I think might be kind of cool. And like the fear of like, why isn't anybody responding to Zach? Are you responding to me? Do you think this is a cool idea? You're my brother. Come on. Like the fact that with every iteration that's happened, there's been a passionate response, both in favor and against, has been really awesome. And the people that I got into like an email discussion with some on this UK message board that like this version was, I think the quote was, the Whopper system is now in shambles.
Wow.
And it like ruined everything for this person. And I think my comment back to him was like, how could we ruin everything if we had already ruined everything back? Like he had complained like when 3.0 came out and then when 4.0 came out. And it's like, I know you care. And then
he just doesn't like change.
Right. It's like, give me a hug, man. I know. And you can say you don't care, but you care. It's okay.
Yeah. I feel you not caring every time you post something about this.
It's funny because like watching, Papa TV and listening to those guys, like when they were asked, like, what do you think of the changes? And like to hear them talk about how like it's almost like admitting you're an alcoholic or something, that like you can't go out and like have a drink and it be fine. That like somehow if you like Whoppers and like the system, that you're somehow like letting it run your life. Like there's no disconnect of people that can just like, yeah, man, it's really awesome for the sport. Okay, I'm going to go back to going to the tournaments that I go to and we'll see what happens.
I have heard a few people with the very easy roll off the tongue, oh man, I don't even care about Whopper points. I've heard that. I've definitely heard that.
So I find it amusing how there is sort of like that you get pigeonholed if you admit to liking them, that you're some sort of like
pinball
freak.
Nerd. You're a pinball nerd.
Like competitive pinball freak who takes it too seriously and doesn't have fun. And that's just not true for most people.
I agree.
Anyway, all right.
I'll start caring when I break the top 1,000.
I de-tangented back to our previous conversation that got ripped.
Totally. So we want direct play. It seems like
we want direct play.
We want player versus player to happen in competitive pinball is what I'm getting from Project 5.2.
Yes. So besides the social interaction of playing with people, which is really awesome. If you went to Pinburg, you will know how awesome that is.
It's awesome.
It helps to balance the ability for tournaments like Super League. We'll use Super League as an example because it's the redheaded stepchild for everything that's wrong with competitive pinball. I'm just kidding. If Steve Zoller's listening, the ability for tournaments to have open qualifying for people to show up whenever they want to be able to play, by themselves. So, like Expo that's coming up this weekend, the flexibility for them to get a ton of players to participate that impact the value of the tournament is way easier than a tournament like Pinburg that requires when someone signs up, hey dude, you're giving us 20 hours of your life.
Yeah.
There's an advantage there to, you can play in Super League because you happen to be in New York for business one day out of the next month, and you know that qualifying window is open. Whether you like it or not, you'll be playing in Super League if you show up.
If you play the right bank of games.
Yeah. So it's helping to balance the fact that like these indirect style tournaments are at a huge advantage in being able to get more players and being able to play more games easily. Because you can blow through a bunch of single-player games really easily. And that's what the value of the tournament is based on.
Yeah. What is it with... Okay, so one thing that I saw that came up over and over was people worried about the destruction of pin golf. Like, this kills pin golf.
Destruction of pin golf, yes.
Pin golf's dead now. You killed pin golf.
I wish I didn't print 10 years worth of Pin Masters trophies, because now I have to throw them away, because pin golf is dead.
You killed pin golf. True or false?
I did. I did not kill pin golf.
All right.
Pin golf is fine as a qualifying system.
Oh, the asterisks.
But pin golf is also fine as a scoring system with direct play. So similar to like watching a Pinburg final where you get 4 points for first and 2 points for second and 1 point for third and 0 points for last, you can judge that same game played using the same pin golf scoring that you were using the whole time. And that's what we're going to be doing for the Pin Masters. It's going to be, our finals are going to be direct play in groups of 4, playing 3 holes with pin golf scoring. So I'm actually kind of excited to see, in like Pinburg style, there's with the guaranteed point structure of 4-2-1-0. There's sort of like a guarantee once you get to 6 that you're going to advance. There's all like the mathematical eliminations.
Yep.
With the way our golf scoring works for Pin Masters, the holes score between 1 and 10 every hole. That that last game of the round is going to be meaningful because
I'm a little ignorant here. How do you get to 10? I've only played in pin golf tournaments where you could get to say 4.
So like we set up the games as 5-ball games.
So you're cheating.
I know that's you beat me to it. I was going to make fun of myself.
My
for
show,
you.
my 200th episode, my catchphrase.
So we set up the scores and for the Pin Masters, we set up hard scores on purpose. So it's not these rinky-dink like, hey, spell kiss on creature and get a hole-in-one in 4 seconds on your plunge or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So scores, if you reach your target score in the first 5 balls, you get whatever ball you're on. And if you fail, we have a percentage-based scoring system of par that will give you a value of 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, depending on how bad your final score is.
So it really behooves you to get as close to that score as possible.
Yes. So it's like if it's 10 million as the target score, we do it in like 20%, or it's like 10% increments for each stroke. Or no, it's not. It's 10 million is the par score, and then it's 20% increments for like 8 to 10 million, you get a 6. 6 to 8, you get a 7. 0 to 2, you get a 10.
Wow. Okay. So if you go through all 5 balls and score less than 20%, that's how you get a 10.
Yes.
Gotcha. A lot of players that I see talk about pin golf tournaments online and players that I've played with really like the idea of holes being set at as something other than a point score, is like some sort of completion of this. Are you kind of the other way? Do you prefer point totals?
No, I prefer point totals because I think it opens up the strategic part of pinball that I enjoy, which is like, how do you get to blank million points? And it was fun to watch people on Metallica. I think we'd set the target score at 40 million.
Yep.
And, Metallica's sort of this, like, you're trying to grind a way to get to a multi-ball. But, like, in that time, you can pound Sparky and know that, like, man, I'm going to lose a ball. The magnet's gonna F me at some point.
Yep.
And it's like, well, every ball is so important. There were people that were just doing right ramp fuel combo. Like once I got to 30 million, and I was one of those guys, like once I got to 30 million, it was like, you know what? Whatever. 7 hits from Sparky, and I have all my drop target bank up. Like, you know what? We're just going to grind out right ramp and fuel lane to get to that last 10 million. And I like the idea of like, hey, the score's out there, buddy. Get there however you want. But I can appreciate like, especially when it's goal objective, and for games where there's usually the strategic part of the game is kind of lame, and it can force you to like have to do like Twilight Zone, like, hey, you know what? The goal is 3 dead ends, and it's like, oh my god, I haven't shot the dead end shot since 1992. This is going to be a really bad idea.
Exactly.
So
That's
I can dig that.
Very cool. Okay, anything else on 5.2 we should touch on? I know it goes pretty deep into how to set up your tournaments, and I don't think we need to do that here in this forum. Anything else you want to defend? Rated players?
Rated player. That's probably the second biggest change is the fact that like all the random people that show up to like Expo coming up. Like everyone that registers for Expo in their goodie bag, there's a free entry into the tournament. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. And for a lot of people, you know, it's a chance to play the new Stern game. If there happens to, I mean, usually at Expo, you're sort of lucky because there's a booth with their games. But for a lot of shows...
So Ghostbusters is going to be there?
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to ask Jody later when we talk to him.
Yeah.
The ability for these people to get counted in the standings by just walking over to the flip out area and be like, hey, I have this coupon. And they pick any game you want. And they play X-Men and they get 3 million and they walk away. Well, what does that person do to the chances of Yorian winning the tournament or not?
Hey, man, the ball is wild. You never know.
You never know. But, like, that person isn't qualifying, and they're not really making the tournament worth anything more in terms of the difficulty of the tournament.
But Josh, you're going to make these people feel worthless, and they're not going to come out and play competitive pinball because they don't count for anything, man.
Oh, my God. If they only knew that they didn't count for anything, they wouldn't know that until they played. So it's sort of like this weird catch-22 of, like, never mind. It's going to make tournament results more accurate because a Super League that gets 500 players that play, and with you being one of them, and Pinball Molly being another, all these people that show up and play.
I played so good on that set of games. I don't even remember it. It was so good. I was in Pinball Nirvana. I mean, I was in the zone. You say lost nose? I was really, really lost in the zone when I played that bank.
I think I think what you'll see is, like, instead of 600 players, when you weed out the tourists that show up and play, that you really get down to like a 50 to 60 person tournament where the 50 to 60 people are like actively competing.
Yeah.
And the goal with 5.2 for next year is that the points awarded and distributed at that tournament, it's going to behave like a 50-player tournament instead of a 500-player tournament.
And I think, too, the argument is if your tournament or, you know, your monthly or whatever, if it's really good and it's successful and people are coming back, that problem works itself out over time.
It does, because those players will become rated and everything will still self-build. And then we'll be back to talking about why Super League is way overvalued, because now they have way too many rated players showing up.
Well, you know. All right,
maybe,
so that's good stuff. Let's talk about something else that you guys announced since the last show. You have announced in 2016 we're going to have an IFPA Women's Pinball Championship.
We are exciting. What do you think? What do you think?
You know, the whole...
I'd love to hear your feedback.
All right. The whole subject of women in pinball for me is a tough one, because I really come at it is this thing where I view pinball, there's no, like, sort of built-in natural human body advantage to pinball for men versus women. You know, like, we both play golf. Yep. In general, men, over the course of a huge sample size, have a physical advantage in at least strength. Not necessarily accuracy, obviously, but in strength in golf, and they can hit the ball farther in general, and there's some sort of built-in advantage based on the human frame there. That's out the door in pinball. So I try and come at it as there should be no separation. If a woman wants to be the best pinball player in the world, and she has that skill, and she puts in the time and the hours, there's really nothing stopping her. However, I cannot and will not ignore the fact that there are very few women playing pinball.
Yes.
And we are trying to promote and grow this hobby. And in doing that, make it more inclusive to everybody. And I think there's a difference between being fair. We all want fair. I don't think anybody would argue that we want fair. And also being inclusive and welcoming. And I think to be inclusive and welcoming, sometimes you got to roll out the red carpet and make it really easy for somebody who might otherwise feel uncomfortable coming into your little group to just walk on in and have their spot. So basically, I think we're creating a place for women to feel included and have an experience that is going to be more welcoming.
And I'll use the word, like, to me, like, not only included, but celebrated.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a good thing. And that is a good thing. I have I have a wife. She is rated on the IFPA page, not very highly.
Has she played?
Yes, yeah, she played in one tournament. Let's look up Shivers, because I believe there are 2 Shivers. She is ranked 23,941st in the world.
You got to drag her out to Harbortown more, man.
Guess what's happening in 15 minutes?
Hey,
guess where I'm not going to be.
I was going to say, we're going to still be on this call.
Yeah. So, Teresa told me, and I asked her, and Teresa's not scared of anything.
Oh, yeah. What's Teresa's, after listening to her go off, you should have had her on with Jody when we do the Jody call in the future that we already did.
Still don't have a time machine. But, Teresa said it's a little uncomfortable walking into this room where it's, and granted, she was not the only female. I think out of the 20 players the night she was there's 3 females. But it's uncomfortable because it's a male-dominated sport, and there's just a physical aspect of men versus women in the history of the world that I would love to ignore, but you can't. Yeah. Where there's a certain intimidation that can be there, and Teresa's not scared of anybody. And she said it's a little uncomfortable, and people get competitive when guys are slamming their hands down onto pinball machines and rattling the glass, and especially when you're new and you haven't seen that before.
Yeah, it's certainly not the most inviting.
No, so she loves the idea of a women's only tournament, and she doesn't feel that she's being coddled or anything. And that's, I guess, my only fear with things like that is that I don't want to placate anybody or play down or oh no, we got something for you too over here, dear. I don't want to be insulting. I don't want that. And I don't think it's being like that.
I think that's where the fact that the women's championship is based on the women that are going to qualify for that are based on the normal Whopper rankings that are only for events that aren't women only. So it's sort of this, because we got a lot of feedback, and I'll say that, for the maybe 80-20 Whopper 5.2, 80% positive emails that I got, 20% negative emails I got.
Yep.
After announcing the announcement of the women's championship may have been the most positive received thing we've ever done.
Wow. That's
and it was crazy. And with most of that response being women. And it was the same. It was about, because I know, growing up in the 90s, there was a very, women's divisions were all over the place in the 90s. And I know they've sort of fallen away, recently with the resurgence of competitive pinball. But, I grew up with Penny Epstein and Elisa Parks and Ellen Frankel and, and Wendy Jankowicz. There was this group of women players, and they were killers, dude. They, the Papa Women's Championship was a throwdown between these girls. They did not mess around, and they took it extremely seriously. And I think the chance to sort of recreate that, what the Whopper rankings did back in 2006 was it gave all these pinball players a chance to compare their ranking and their skill indirectly against players from around the world that they never got to directly compete against. And what I just saw was the positive response to Whopper 1.0 from the women. And it was more than the women's championship. It was the women's ranking that we now have on the front page, at the top title bar.
I'm looking at it, and we have a Swede at the top of this list too.
So now, the feedback that you get is all these women recognizing that these other women exist and where they fit amongst their, peers that are women.
I almost hate to break it to Teresa that she's on page 38 of 41, ranked 1,873rd. She's very competitive. This could be the thing that gets her out
all
more.
She has to do is show up, and she can probably just register for the tournament, not even play tonight, and move up 2,000 spots.
I could just tell Francesca what her name is.
There you go.
Oh, right, I'm kidding. I only kid because I love.
We all love Francesco. He rocks it out. So with besides the positive response for the women's tournament, the decisions that we make at the IFPA is typically we'll think of something, and it's what are the pros and cons of launching this? And if the pros outweigh the cons, we'll typically, go for it. And the argument of what's if we announce the women's ranking and this women's championship, is there a chance that women stop competing in pinball tournaments?
No, of course not.
So like there was sort of no con there in terms of like we're gonna demotivate them to ever play again. It's like maybe we'll motivate the hope is that we'll motivate them more to try to qualify for one of these the 16 spots for the women's championship, because they can't do that without getting out and playing. The same way that like people can't qualify for the IFPA World Championship if they don't get out there and play.
Well, so I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day I was talking to about, world pinball playing rankings, and they said, so who's the best in the world? And this is how I got into the whole Yorian versus Keith thing. At some point, the rankings almost aren't who's best in the world, but it's who's not only the best, but willing to put in the work to be the ranked best.
Yes.
You have to commit to something here if you want to be ranked highly.
And even when you talk about, where Keith and Yorian are at 1 and 2, like the fact that, you cannot deny the tournaments that Yorian has won. And, he beat Keith head to head at IFPA 11 in Denver for the World Championship title and winning EPC. And Keith just finished second at Pinburg or third or wherever he finished, fourth, whatever. He was not in the Zach Raymond match, so he was third or fourth. He, the opportunities for them to play at these high-level events, it's almost more amazing that Keith is in second, knowing that he plays Papa every year, he plays Pinburg every year, he never plays EPC, and he plays IFPA 50% of the time, versus Yorian, who's pounding out these majors, like they're going out of style. He doesn't miss one. And for when you get to the top of the top, like, there's no Super League that's going to help anyone in the top 5. Like, when you get to the top 5, you got to do some damage at majors if you want to move from 5 to 1. And for Keith to be taking goose eggs, at majors by not showing is a huge disadvantage for him and for Zach, really, who, doesn't go to the EPC. He'll go to the international IPAs. But the guys that are willing to go to all 4 every year have a huge advantage.
All right, let me ask you something, since you are a top 20 player.
Yeah,
which maybe you need some.
Wait, can I hold on? Let me, because we're not gonna. It's not gonna come up again. But it was too good of a joke when we were off air to not mention. But if Yorian designs a game, it will be better than Archer. So he will be the better. It was funnier before. Never mind. Go on.
That was a valiant attempt. I appreciate the.
It was way funnier when I brought it up.
It was way funny. Okay, so you're ranked 18th in the world right now.
Yes.
You have a career. You have kids, a wife, a life. What amount of money would it take for you to go to all these tournaments if you had nothing to do with them, if you weren't president of the IFPA? Like potential earnings and winnings. Like right now, I think the most you're going to win if you won all the tournaments, the big 4. If you won all 4 in 1 year, what would you make?
Well, let's see. What's Pinburg? 15. Papa's 10. If you sell your game that you win for IFPA, I think you get 1,000 in a game, so that's like whatever, $6,000. And EPC, I don't know what Yorian won. Maybe like €1,000. It's not that much.
Yeah,
they don't play for money in Europe. We're capitalists over here, so that's where you get the pump and dumps and everything. We love the money too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know, $40,000.
So if you won all four, which would be very, very difficult to do.
$30,000, yeah.
$30,000. So
30 to 40.
So if you take your top 20 and you figure a certain amount of, top 5 finishes and stuff, what amount of money compels you to like take those extra weeks off or weekends off and that extra time away from the family? Like, what's it going to take to really, get Zach out to all of them? Maybe Keith. I don't know. And I don't know if Keith's motivated by money or not, but people like money. How much money would we need in these major championships to really make it worth everybody's while to not miss a major?
It's weird. And if you talk to like Adam Lefkoff and I will joke about it, that like part of what makes the competitive pinball scene so awesome is that it's not life-changing money with respect to like it becoming like a nasty sort of circle.
Yep.
Like the money amount is probably enough that would change the dynamic of what makes competitive pinball so great. And that's like getting to hang out with the people and the social aspect and like getting to play amongst your peers and have a good time doing it.
It's really true because the average top 20 player is losing their shirt going to these 4 tournaments.
For me, a good year is, and luckily I get to split. If Zach and I both qualify, we split each other's winnings. A good year at the end of the year is I'm plus $1 or more net of all travel expenses. So you could pay for your fun.
Yep.
That's a great year. And this year with Zach winning Pinburg, it'll be a great year.
Excellent. So you just recently attended Mr. Zach Sharp's wedding in the great state of Maine.
I did.
I didn't realize until you texted me you were driving out there.
Yeah, no, I was not driving out. Well, we were driving from Boston.
Okay, so you drove from Boston. All right.
Yes.
Fair enough. So you flew to Boston and then you drove to Maine. That's not that bad. I do that all the time, so I take that back. You did get to take a side road trip. We get to do a trip report with Josh Sharp here on episode 200.
Yeah, can you mark the time and then can I get a bumper?
Trip reports.
That's why I kind of clapped. Was hoping we would
right,
get it there.
I expect when I listen on my drive in tomorrow, because yes, I listen to our own shows.
That's kind of sad.
I want to hear the bumper.
Okay, it'll be there. I promise.
Trip reports.
So trip report, because Josh Sharp went to one of my favorite places in the world, the Pinball Wizard Arcade in Pelham, New Hampshire, and I would love to hear your trip report.
Awesome.
Tell me about it.
So, and what's amazing is growing up in Chicago, where I got to play all these new games all the time. Like, Chicago has always been really crappy for location pinball. Like, the idea of having a bunch of games in one place, it still doesn't exist really too much out here. Logan Hardware is probably the closest. I think they have like 40 games now.
That's really good.
But, stepping in and talking to Sarah and introduced myself, and for their first question asking if my dad was coming, and it's like, yeah, he's at some point, like it's definitely on the Sharp to-do list, to drive between here and Maine, between Boston and Maine, was to stop here and see the collection and stuff. And so let's see some of the highlights from, besides like the place is amazing and having all these games that are working, was learning that my son didn't actually know what tokens were.
Wow.
So there was sort of like, needing to pay money to play games. Then there was, talking to him about what that meant, because he likes to hit, he runs around the basement and hits start whenever he wants and all that stuff. And it got funnier when, we ran out of tokens by the time it was over, and explaining to him that, like, look, our cup's all done. We're all done. Like, we can't play anymore.
That just didn't make sense to him.
It didn't. And then my dad did not help, because when my dad showed up, it was totally a scene out of Old School, where he was just like the Godfather trying to like pay for his meal. And it's like, your money is no good for the Godfather. No, your money is no good here. So Sarah's just giving him, a bucket of tokens, and then Colin's sort of whining that he can't play anymore. And my dad, here he comes over, and it's like, here, buddy, here's a bunch of tokens. And it's like, Dad, no, this is a teaching moment. I need to try to teach him that, like, he doesn't just get to play forever whenever he wants.
That's awesome.
So, let's see, what were some of the highlights? So I saw Walking Dead and saw that Bowen had the high score on the tournament. And I got all excited because the score wasn't that great.
So you thought you were going to go get it?
I was totally like, I'm like, Sarah, is it just like $2 to play in the tournament? She's like, tournament's over on that one. And I was so bummed because I was going to just kill that thing. But got to play Full Throttle in the wild, which was awesome. Hold on, we'll get back to that.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Next to Full Throttle, do you know what's next to Full Throttle?
Oh, is it Sharky Shootout?
No. Do you remember? Or no?
It was, Super Mario Brothers?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So this game, which I probably had not seen since I was a kid, this game was like the path to, I guess I read an article on Dave & Buster's, on people that go to Dave & Buster's and play redemption games and actually like win enough to win an iPad and sell it to make money or whatever.
Oh, really?
They call them advantage players.
Wow. Like,
this game was my 13-year-old ticket to being an advantage player back in the redemption world.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it took me years, but I remember buying a stereo for like 20,000 tickets. It took me like 2.5 years of accumulation for like whatever, a $9 Craig stereo probably is what it was. But being able to like play that game was so much fun. It totally brought me back 20 years of just pounding out tickets. And I know that like,
because this is Mushroom World. This is
Mushroom World.
Yeah.
So I'm going to town, and my wife's in there sort of corralling the kids, and I was playing with Colin, and then I was playing with Charlotte, my daughter. Charlotte wanders off, and I'm like, she'll probably be okay. And then like one of the workers is there, was like, yeah, your daughter's like in the Papa shot. And I'm just like, oh god. So I had to let a ball drain and like go get her, and then get yelled at by my wife for like, what are you doing, dude? like your daughter's just rambling, walking wherever she wants. And she's only 1.5. So it was like, oh man. And of course, Mushroom World's like right in front of the counter. So like Sarah's just watching me be a terrible father all go down.
But, do they have tickets in that game there?
They do. They do. So like I'm winning tickets, and Colin's getting candy out of this ticket. Like it was awesome, because he was like, he now had a vested interest in me getting tickets. And then like Sarah eventually was like, hey, can you beat the high score on there was from Joe Lemire, who will now, I'm sure he listens to your podcast, so he'll now message me about this tomorrow. But she was like, can you take down his score? Cause it's so annoying. And I think I was at like 200 million. And it literally probably took me like easily over a half an hour.
Oh my god!
And a half an hour with 2 kids is just a terrible idea for me to keep playing. So I like cradled up and saw that his high score was like 635, and I was like, Sarah, this ain't happening today.
No, that's funny.
But then got to play a lot of Full Throttle in the wild, which was kind of nice. No lines, no waiting.
So it's an interesting place, because they have like some really great old games. They have the classic Bally Williams games. They have modern Stern games. And now Sarah's invested in both America's Most Haunted and Full Throttle. So she's
and Wizard of Oz.
And Wizard of Oz. So right off the bat, she's got the latest, greatest, even the boutique games out there to play. This was probably, I guess, the first time you got to play like multiple games, not at Replay FX or something like that on Full Throttle.
Yes, like by myself, with Colin standing on a stool in front of me, so it's sort of like, it was fine. Obviously, I think at some point I had asked Amanda to like, hey, do you mind if I like really play one game? And she was like, fine, go ahead. So it was nice to be able to like, I don't know, like the equivalent of whatever sitting down and enjoying a meal is, of like playing the game like that, sitting down and enjoying the meal.
Sure. So what are your...
So how was the food?
Yeah, so how was the food? What was your take on the game out in the wild, having been played by other people, kind of settling into, its life as a pinball machine? What do you think of Full Throttle?
Highlights and lowlights.
I think it shoots like no other game shoots, which is pretty cool. It feels like itself, which is pretty... It's pretty awesome. And a lot of that probably has to do with like, I don't know who the designer is. I know it's like, a random UK person. It's like it's a new blood designer, and it's the shots were great. It really smooth and really fast, especially for a wide body. And didn't experience a whole lot of, airball action or whatever, people have commented on.
Yeah, I felt that one didn't have that problem as much either.
So I thought it was a great shooter. I have a big issue with I guess we'll say like, so there's a difference between like rules. Pinball rules are great, and I love talking pinball rules with programmers and players and whatever, but so much of what makes a rule work or not is the presentation of the rule. And it helps to give the game a personality, and it helps to cause an emotional reaction from the player. So to me, like in the history of pinball, some of the best like modes and rules are really simple modes and rules, but they're presented in such a way that they leave a lasting impression on you. And like a couple that come to mind really quick is like, if I explain to you like the seance mode in Addams Family.
Yeah.
Like explain to me the rule. Like, what do you have to do during the mode?
Seance is, well, you got the magnet going and you're hitting, what are you hitting in Seance? I don't know that game that well. Don't do that to me.
Come on. So the rule is you have to shoot 3 ramps.
Okay.
That's it. That's the whole rule.
This is
3
how
ramps.
bad I am at that game. I couldn't have called that out.
Either ramp. 3 ramps in 20 seconds. Like, for a pinball rule, not incredibly complex. Not, it's not going to blow the barn doors off of like, in terms of like, I cannot believe that this came from the mind of someone. It's shooting a shot that you're hitting during the game anyway.
Yeah.
But the power's on, the eerie music's going, the display is now like squiggly lining because it's possessed.
Yep. And
you shoot the ramp, and then boom, the knocker goes off, and you shoot the ramp, and boom, the knocker goes. It creates this emotional reaction from the player, and that is completely missing from Full Throttle. Is what I got while playing, and to me, I'm just going to keep talking. I'll get all this out, and then you can tell me your opinions.
No, I love it. I'm listening.
So to me, like the rules of Full Throttle are really solid, and they're really built on. I call it, and I joke with Brian Dominy, who's the programmer, when he was sort of taking me through the rules, and I'm like, oh, it's just like Godzilla, and it really is. And Godzilla / Medieval, where you're pounding these shots, and you pound them enough to advance to a multi-ball. And in Godzilla, do you play Godzilla enough, or if we try to talk Godzilla, you're going to be totally in the weeds?
You saved me on Godzilla Papa last year. Told me how to get the multi-balls already and then get them all going at once, right?
Okay. So if you watch like a Godzilla video, like I can tell you, and I only like there's Godzilla tanked, and there's like no Godzilla games out there, so I only get to play it at Papa every year, and I can tell you like the multi-balls are like Sonar and Taxi and the Godzilla multi-ball and Babyzillas and Helicopters. There's 5 multi-balls. And I can only tell you that because of the way that the rules of progressing towards getting those multi-balls started, how those are presented to you as a player. And they leave an impression. So if I'm hitting, the captive ball, and it's for Sonar, I'm hitting this captive ball shot, and it's causing, this sound effect that's very memorable, and stuff is happening that allows you to sort of like understand and remember what that is. If you asked me what are the 5 different shots, that you're advancing for Full Throttle to make it into those multi-balls, I couldn't tell you one of them. Like, there's blue and orange and green and yellow and some other color, but it's not like there's no...
It's not like Snake, Grave Markers, Sparky, Coffin.
Yeah, or even like, that rules, the rules of Metallica are a little different, but like, even like Medieval, where you're pounding a shot to be able to start a multi-ball, like the peasant ramps, like I know the peasants on the left ramp because like when I hit that, it's like they took our pinball machine. Like
exactly,
it makes you laugh.
Yes.
And like when I play and I shoot the center loop for the spinner, which is a great shot by the way on Full Throttle, I love that center shot.
Yep.
Like I don't know if that's for the moto or stunt, or I don't even know if those two are two of them. Like there's nothing that makes it feel like the moto shot, besides the color. All right, go. I'm done.
I totally get what you're saying. And, it's funny because part of me thinks it loops in part all the way back to what I've been saying about that game since the very beginning. The theme doesn't allow itself a lot of leeway and liberties in designing that sort of atmosphere that you're talking about, where you have something like the Addams Family or Godzilla with these sort of esoteric things you can add into it to create that vibe that we're missing. Instead, you have motorcycle racing, which I assume is around a track in a stadium and everyone's wearing the same basic thing, you don't have a lot of that sort of out there aspect of the theme. And what you end up with, and I completely agree with you, the game does shoot well. I was kind of blown away how much better it shot now than it did a year ago at Expo, and how much just more complete and put together it felt.
Yeah.
But it sort of comes off as a little bit sterile, because as you're taking these shots, you don't really know what any of it's doing other than, oh, I'm hitting that lit shot over there that's going to vroom the motorcycle, and hopefully I'm going to get an extra ball at some point. So it's not that it's bad rules. I think that was really kind of right on that you said the rules are solid. They're there. It's just, it's kind of missing that special pizzazz that we love in pinball sometimes to really draw you in and tell a story.
What put it into perspective was like when I was watching the Game of Thrones launch video, which, you know, we should really talk to Jody about that live stream. Cut to Jody's conversation. You can do that right now. All right. But like, not having a chance to really have seen sort of what, you know, what I would consider like the polish of the game. Like, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be able to talk to Dwight a lot, who's the programmer, and love Dwight, known him forever. And, you know, we talk rules all the time, and a lot of the conversation goes to like, all right, man, how are you going to polish that rule to make it meet, like to give me something that I can hold on to? So when I'm playing a game 20 years from now, I know I can explain to you like what Q's challenge rule is on next gen because of the polish and presentation and choreography of that rule. Whereas in the current Star Trek for Stern, I know Save the Enterprise is the green mode now.
Yep.
But that's all I know about it. Like, there's nothing about the mode that makes me feel like I'm saving the Enterprise. And that's the hard part of pinball, man. It's breaking through the fourth wall of pinball of like, I don't want to feel like I'm hitting a ramp. I want to feel like I'm doing something else in the world.
And okay, so this is where I think two games pop out in my mind recently that have done exactly that. And they're two games we just mentioned. Wizard of Oz, with where it's gone to code-wise, despite what I may feel about kind of the layout and the flow of the gameplay of that, which I don't particularly love, it does drag you through this story. And as I've gotten deeper into that game, as I've like forced myself to play it more and really kind of try and get better at it, it does a really good job of setting different tones and telling stories. And I have these little flashbacks to things in that game that I want to go try and see again. So I think that Jersey Jack seems to kind of understand that.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, I didn't really like. I had a chance to play Hobbit at Pinburg because, luckily for me and Zach, we went over there and saw a sign on the game that said "Don't play." So we were like, "Ha! Screw that! We're the Sharps.
Yeah.
Let me take that sign off and power it on." And then have Joe Newhart like walk right up to us right as we did that.
Like,
and he's like, "No,
you
guys are fine." And it's like, "All right, sorry, Joe. You know, we never get to play." Blah blah blah. And it was like, you know, that game, that's hitting it out of the park too. Like, it takes you into that world so well. And the thing, you know, with the animations on the back glass and what Keith's doing, you know, with the light shows, it's like, you know, I'll hear, and you know, I hate to pick on Auric Lawson, is that his name?
Yes.
Auric.
Yep.
So obviously, you know, he talks with his little bias as he can about Highway, like the tech that Highway has at their disposal, and all these RGB LEDs and the display in the playfield. And it's the same thing that I've felt where pinball has gone, you know, has jumped the shark in terms of being unable to understand for a casual player, is that even the DMD got to a point where, hey, we can now do something so complicated that like we could, because we have this device that allows us to explain more. And to have all of these color changing things, especially on Full Throttle, they're not used in a way that sets a tone of the game. And I think like Walking Dead is with what Lyman's done with the light shows on that game, especially when you get into like horde mode or whatever, it's like it's RGB LEDs with a purpose. And I think that's where you need to have like the tech meet the talent of the programming, and not just rule programming, but like the whole package.
I still think it's 50% the theme. I think that's an incredibly hard thing to do well with a theme like motocross.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it'll be interesting to see how they integrate the display on Alien, I know that, like, you know, it's awesome to have the display right there and know that, like, hey, I'm 3 shots away from this multi-ball and 2 away from this multi-ball. But at that point, it I don't know, depersonalizes what each of those shots mean. So, like, if I'm playing Monster Bash and I'm shooting the orbits to try to start Wolfman,
you're hearing the call-outs, and
I'm advancing a moon. Like, I'm at quarter moon, and I'm at a half moon, and I'm at 3/4 moon, and then I'm at my full moon fever. If those inserts were all gone and it was just an arrow, and there was an LCD in the center of the playfield that just said, you know, full moon fever in 4, up now 3, now 2. There's like you lose something there with the tech that depersonalizes the impact, like the connection you have with the shot
with the
you
ball
just made,
actually causing
with the
something.
Ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
Question: when you were playing Full Throttle, were you looking at the LCD in the playfield or the one in the back box?
I never looked at the one in the playfield.
Me either. I could not get myself to do it.
Actually, like, almost laughed at myself. Of, like, I'd cradle up a ball and, like, totally realize I had not looked at it yet.
Yep.
And yeah, man, it's just, I guess I've been playing pinball the same way for 35 years.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. Josh, we need to call Jody Dankberg.
Oh, is this where you're gonna put it?
We gotta talk to Jody Dankberg. No,
we should totally
put it.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
gonna call Jody Dankberg.
Yes, let's do that.
Because he's working late.
He is. But you know why? Because he loves pinball.
It's funny. We're calling him at 7:15, which is about the time we called.
Oh my God! This is exactly 12 hours.
12 hours later. Very good. So let's hear from Jody and what's going on at Stern Pinball in episode 200 of Coast to Coast Pinball. All right, joining Josh and I here on Coast to Coast Pinball, Jody Dankberg, Stern Pinball. How are you, sir?
Hey, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. What's going on at Stern with the Game of Thrones launch? It's like all the rage, it's all the talk. This seems to be one of the bigger launches, title and theme wise, we've had in the, I don't know, the last few at least. At least this one caused the most emotional outcry. What's your take been on it? It's been fun to watch.
Well, Game of Thrones is a pretty big title, one of the most watched shows in the world. So there's a lot of passionate fans out there, and so I think, and you know, some people had known prior to that we were going to make it. So there was a lot of anticipation going on.
How do these people find this out?
I had no idea until I saw the first pictures.
I think there's a spaghetti strainer in product development. I don't know.
I think it might be Josh.
I don't know. You never know. Sometimes these walls talk, but that being said, the game is now in beta test right now. We've done some live streaming. We've had the game out at the European Pinball Championships, and we've been putting it through its paces here. And all reports say it's a fun shooter.
So when it first got launched, and it was covered probably ad nauseum on this show, the art package was met with a lot of I don't know, very emotional responses by people who were fans of the show and who thought, "Oh, that's not what I wanted it to be. This isn't it." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
What was that like inside at Stern, seeing that? Because you guys are aware of what people are saying on the internet.
Yeah, I think you know, some people probably took it harder than others, but you know, no fun when someone calls your baby ugly, right?
Give Greg Ferris a hug, Jody. Walk down the hall, give him a hug.
Yeah, give him a hug. But that being said, I think that once people have seen the art within the whole package and the whole context of the game, I think it's very fitting. You know, art is tough. And then expectations are tough, and some things are good and some things are bad. Some people some people see things that other people don't. Some people are more critical than others. It's very polarizing art package, but we don't think that it will make or break the game.
I kind of tend to agree. One thing I wanted to ask you, I had heard rumors after the Pro and the limited edition were put out. I heard rumors from unnamed sources that you guys were looking at making a change to something in the artwork, and I didn't ever hear what exactly it was. And then there was the delay to see the premium, and then we see this premium, which has a kind of a different look with some different coloring, some different features. Was that premium artwork in response to the first two releases, or was that already done and set in motion that way to begin with?
Well, there always was a plan to do a premium winter type theme package. So everything you see on the cabinets and whatnot had been in motion for a long time. I think the choice to add the blue was in response to some feedback that we got, and also looking back and having time to sit back and look at that premium package, say, you know what, maybe if we change some of the tone of the play field, it'll match better with the theme of the outside of the cabinet. So that was definitely taken into consideration. Feedback not only from online communities, but some of our customers. We have thousands and thousands of customers throughout the world, and we love getting feedback from them and trying to be better.
That's pretty impressive that a company the size of Stern can sort of move that quickly and be that, I don't know, swift at making a change. That's kind of like that's a really cool move.
Well, we have the resources and we have the ability to do certain things. Technology is a lot different than it was, 20, 30 years ago. So we're able to shift in different directions. We've launched lots of games in the past few years with the Pro Premium Limited Edition model. We always haven't. But one thing that we maybe have missed the mark on, we haven't been consistent on the way we release them. Sometimes you've seen where we release all three models at once. Sometimes we'll just release a Pro and a limited edition and no premium.
Walking Dead.
Or even like X-Men, right? Didn't have any premium, right? Or WrestleMania didn't have any premium. But then you do one that has a limited edition and a Pro, and to Josh's point, then you decide that you want to add a premium. We try our best to figure out what's best for the market. But I think moving forward, I think it might be better to show all three models at once. It just depends,
I see what you're saying. I think that the only argument there, Josh, quit working so much.
Sorry.
The only thing I would say to that is, by delaying it in this instance, I think you're probably going to have a big hit with that premium, just based on folks who like that darker art package. So I think that worked out well for
again, you want to have somewhat of separation between these different packages, because you want them all to be unique pieces of unique pieces of art and unique themes. I think that's what makes the different levels kind of cool. That they're not all the same, and that you get different things. But again, we're this is something, although we've been doing these three levels for the past few years, it's still relatively new to pinball, and we're still figuring out the best way to launch that type of stuff. But
what are your thoughts from the inside on the differences between the Pro and the two higher level games as far as playfield changes and feature changes?
Yeah, well, I think you want the end result is I think you want a big difference between your Pro and your Premium LE playing experience, because, and I think we spoke about this before on your show, is that these models are made for different types of consumers and markets, right? So the Pro model is definitely geared for a street location type of experience, or even Josh could speak to this, maybe even a tournament type of experience where it's a fast game, it's a mean game, and in these faster mean games we found like an Iron Man, a Tron, Star Trek Pro. There's a lot of these really lean and mean Pro games that happen to earn very well for operators and guys who own these barcades and stuff. So we wanted that playing experience for the Pro. As far as the Premium LE, we know that some of these are going to make location, but the bulk of these are going to be for collectors or enthusiasts, right? Yep. And the collector enthusiast, although they might be really happy with the Pro, I actually have Metallica Pro pinball machine myself, which I find very fun.
Me too.
But
I have a premium. Sorry.
Of course you do. Of
You're
course you
fancy.
do.
You make the big bucks. But that being said, a lot of these enthusiasts and collectors want a little bit more more bang for the buck, a little more play value. They might want a more involved game with more features. So going back to what you're talking about, the difference between the Pro Game of Thrones and the Premium Limited Edition Game of Thrones is not only visually striking, but they're going to play a little bit different. That's not to say that they won't play fast. This limited edition it might look a little deceiving. That upper play field plays very fast, and then the rest of the game shoots pretty much like the Pro. So it's going to be a little bit faster than people think.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's I know on the LE there's talk of people playing up on the playfield forever, but there are
Not unless they're Josh Sharp level.
that doesn't matter because the way Steve designed that area up there, the shots under the dragon, when you shoot it, the ball's gone. It's off there.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
plus
done.
you don't want to be up on that playfield forever. You want to accomplish the tasks, then get out of there. So it's not one of those things where you're designated
grinding
to
away
be
for
up. You're
an hour.
grinding. Yeah,
Right.
it's a battle, And then I don't know if you guys have seen any of the gameplay for the Pro, but battling the dragon is all about hitting those inserts and taking down the dragon.
So, Josh and Jody, you guys are teaming up kind of consistently now, launching these games, doing launch parties. Kind of give me the strategy there, and maybe talk to me about the success that you guys had on the last round, and what you guys are planning for the Game of Thrones launches.
Well, I'll Josh, you want to talk about it, or I can start?
You can start. I'll jump in after.
Yeah, well, just to give you a little color there, Josh and I started doing this in 2009.
Yeah, Buck Hunter.
Big Buck Hunter. And we did it at the GameWorks in Schaumburg, and Schaumburg, Illinois, and they had a bar upstairs that nobody went to. And so we brought
They still don't.
I think we brought 50 people maybe, right?
Yeah.
And all those people were eating and drinking, and it was a fun time, and it was actually a very interesting experience, a little different. And so, I come from the music industry, and it's very common in the music industry to do launch events, either staged around, new albums, new DVDs, or new product releases, right? And so, we went on with Iron Man, and I think we had 4 events around the world, or around the country, and then, Nate, as you've seen the past few years, they've kind of grown into this cool organic thing where every time we announce a game, we get dozens of requests all around the world of people who want to have launch events, and it's awesome. So the KISS one we may have had more events than we've ever had. Am I correct, Josh?
Yeah, I feel bad for Steve who had to keep updating the flyer every 7 minutes with this is the final.
This is the final flyer. But then and so now we're in the process now of planning our Game of Thrones launch. We're going to have at the Pinball Expo, we're going to have our what we call our home field launch in Chicago. And Josh, I don't know if you want to talk more about the launch party.
Yeah,
and how they've evolved.
I think the perspective of Jody being an outsider to the industry and Dave Peterson and their whole pretty much the outsiders of pinball when they came in and invested in Stern, there was this new perspective on marketing the product. I grew up, obviously a 90s Williams arcade rat, and you found a game that was put on test and pictures got leaked, when the internet eventually came along. And that's sort of how games got unveiled. You could go read, Rec Games pinball posts on Jason Werdrick, who was one of the first people to always find the test game in Chicago and start writing up about it. And the ability for the new Stern team to create, this launch party in terms of celebrating, the birth of this game and allowing, at least in Chicago, the enthusiasts in the area to get to meet the designers and get an autographed flyer. There was something that sort of brought it into a more current, what Jody talked about for, the music industry, stuff that other industries do that pinball just never did, because it's one of those, well, all we do is put a game out on test and then we'll show it at an industry trade show and then we'll ship it. And, moving on to Game of Thrones, I think Jody's taken that to the next level with what they did with the live stream for Game of Thrones, with having Jack Danger play it with the designers, live at Stern. Because even with the launch parties and how they've been going the last few years, the true launch of a game, and Jody can correct me if I'm wrong, is typically they'll get the games on the container early, they'll arrive in Australia, and you'll get pictures from Pinball News, and you'll get random, Richard Rhodes phone camera footage when AMD unboxed their first game. And, it's sort of, and you hear the complaints all the time of like, this kind of launch makes no sense, really. And
who would say something like that?
No, nobody would ever say something like that.
The internet.
I think the internet. I think.
Are we on the internet? We're on the internet, so right?
Sort of, yeah.
The Game of Thrones, and I sent a message to the Stern guys after I watched the stream. It was like a hallmark moment of nobody had seen the game played before, ever. And everyone got to watch it for the first time at the same time all around the planet. And who better to play the game than the designer of the game? And it was just a really magical moment to me to watch.
And me.
And I get to
that's what I thought you were going to say. I thought, who better than Jody? Come on.
We know that there was some great feedback from my awesome playing. Although I did have a rad game, though, Josh.
You did, dude. You dropped a 400. I'm expecting big things out of you from the launch party.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I think,
Someone asked if I was ranked. I was like, I think I'm ranked.
To take that to the next step, I think there's something to, a lot of these pinball designers and the people that are inside the halls are sort of like these mythical creatures that really they're just human beings. And to see, Stern takes a lot of flack for sort of being the corporate pinball manufacturer and not really having any fun and not designing games, that mean anything. It's more about making dollars and moving on to the next game and making dollars. And if they can make 5 different models, they will. And to watch those guys have so much fun on the video and know, when I go over there and from time to time privately, like that's how they are all the time. They get to make pinball every day. And, Jody can tell you with, what he's getting paid, you have to love pinball to work in pinball. It's not like nobody's making,
we have fun here. We work hard, but we have like so much fun. I mean, this is like, I can't express to you how lucky I am to have found this second career here. I could have very easily gone back to the musical industry business, which Nate, you know all about.
You don't want to do that.
Which is, it's a tough business, right? It's a nomad business. It's tough, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity I've had here, and I think we're just getting started because pinball's just starting to blossom, I think.
And Nate, if you had a chance to watch the live stream, like I don't know about you, but I found it really infectious in terms of just it turning the vibe of the game into a really positive thing.
Yes, absolutely. Just the fact that there are cameras inside the Stern facility when a game is like literally brand new like that to me is already really exciting. And then to see the designer and to see other employees and to see a game that was getting hammered on for the artwork, all of a sudden on a camera with the lights going, it didn't look. I thought it looked way better, is what I guess I'm trying to say here. It made it look like a real game, first of all. And I instantly softened my stance on the playfield art package and thought, okay, I get it. That looks pretty good. And that is the type of stuff that I think is really important for pinball to grow with, the folks younger than all of us, because that's how the world's working. You're seeing things happen on the internet so fast and in real time a lot of times. And I think that's really a neat thing. And my hat's off to Stern and to the Dead Flip guys for sort of, spearheading all of that.
Yeah, it's fun. And we're going to do a lot more stuff with Jack. Jack's an awesome spokesperson for pinball. He's just real passionate about promoting pinball. He works really hard at his Twitch
hair
stream.
Yeah, at his hair.
His hair too. He's getting high and tight on that cut.
Yep.
And he's a big proponent of facial hair and sunglasses. But Jack and people like Jack have become the new generation of pinball, which is exciting because these are the collectors of the future. These are the street players now. And we're in. As a matter of fact, Jack will be live streaming and MC hosting our expo party at Pinball Expo on Friday night. I feel like I'm like on a radio show plugging my gig.
No, that's what we do here.
Yeah. So, it's going to be 9:30 on October 16th in the Botanic Room, Pinball Expo, no charge. Everybody is welcome. And come by. We have some Half Acre Brewery has donated a couple kegs. So we'll have some free beer. Logan Arcade, which is our buddies down in the city, are bringing a classic lineup of Stern Electronics games for people to check out. We're going to have a Game of Thrones tournament, obviously run by Mr. Sharp. And,
it's gonna be one long tournament line. Let me tell you.
One giant tournament. We're going to try and bring 3 games in there for you, Josh. So
nice,
faster.
Excellent.
And then we'll have a meet and greet session with the Game of Thrones team. So it's in Cash Bar if you're like me, if you like vodka or whatnot, and it's going to be fun.
Sounds like it's going to be a great time. Is there anything else we can touch on for this segment here? I know that there's always something new happening at Stern. Feel free to break any news you want, Mr. Dankberg. Go ahead.
All I can say is our next 6 titles are...
That was fun, Josh. We got to talk to Jody Dankberg at Stern Pinball.
We did. Man.
Why did he hang up on us, though? He was about to reveal the next game, and he just hung up the phone.
Well, hopefully, did he just send you an email with the next 6 titles? Because he just sent me one.
Yeah, well, I'm not a sharp.
No? Oh.
I got the S8, and then I'm not a sharp.
Sorry, man.
It's okay. All right, so before we wrap episode 200 up, I think that it's kind of a nice full circle around these 200 episodes. One of the many little tangential themes that's happened is me versus NBA Fast Break. It's the bane of my existence, as I like to call it. You say you can help me. Bowen tried to help me. It helped a little bit. Josh Sharp helped me help NBA Fast Break.
So the Sharp family has grown up with, I think we actually have NBA Fast Break serial number 1.
Wow.
That we grew up with. It was in Zach's bedroom. So we've played it a ton, and we were naive enough to not realize how not great of a game it is. So, which is really nice because we really enjoyed it for a long time.
What's your highest score ever on that, do you think?
Probably high 2s with a couple, maybe 2 rings, 3 rings.
All right, that's not. I thought you might say even higher than that.
No, because you start getting into like on the high scoreboard, a ring trumps any score, so you end up like cradling out to try to just get to the ring because like 100 points in 2 rings beats 800 points in no rings.
I gotcha.
For a high score. So whatever. I digress. But Bowen's tips were great. A couple of extra tips that I would give to people playing Fast Break, and they both have to do with the Around the World multi-ball, which is the 4 dudes at the top.
Yeah.
So it's the way that the Defender mech works is it knows where you're passing it to, and then it moves there to block your ball. And there's always a sense of like wanting to rush to try to beat the Defender there. And what happens is if the Defender, let's just say you're in the bottom left hole from the center. So like hole 2.
Yep.
Defender hole 2. If you need hole 4 and you pass the ball to the right to Defender number 3 and then pass it right away to Defender number 4, the Defender will go from 2 to 4 directly without stopping, and he's way more likely to block your shot because the programmer's telling him, get your ass over to number 4. That's where the ball's going.
This guy's trying to beat you over there quick.
Yeah, so it's important if you need to go, especially if you need to make 2 passes before you want to make your shot, even though you feel like you want to rush to beat the Defender there as fast as you can, you want to pass it to number 3, sit, wait for the Defender to stop at 3, and then pass to 4 and make your shot.
That makes perfect sense. I love that. That's good.
So, second tip is if you get up there for the first time, you want to try to pick off Defenders number 1 and 4 first. And the reason why I say that is that there'll be other shots to the left orbit, that if they don't make it all the way up the ramp that leads back to the right flipper, the ball will fall up into that area, and they're far more likely to fall into the 2 and 3 saucers rather than the 1 and 4 saucers. And you get credit, even if it falls in there and the game shoots it for you, you get credit for making that hole. So, leave those open for yourself as long as possible, and you might get them for free.
Excellent. You also told me before we started recording tonight that one of the best tips on that game is sort of obvious, I guess, but not to me. You should always do everything in your power to save any ball because there's no bonus. Tilt away.
There's no bonus. You should be tilting every single ball to save your ball because there are no consequences except for like tilting into the next guy. So like, don't be an ass.
You don't want to do that.
Like you could, if there's a ball in the out lane, don't be afraid to be aggressive if you think it's going or your ball's going straight down.
Yeah.
Pull out a Congo slide save. There's nothing to be lost.
Excellent. Well, Josh, thank you very much for joining episode 200. I'm glad to have you.
The confetti pops. Teresa must be so thrilled that you've wasted 200 times 50 minutes of your life doing this.
I don't consider it wasted as much as giving it to the pinball community.
Yes,
to do what they will with it. No, it's been a lot of fun, and I've really appreciated. I don't know how long you've been coming on now every month, but it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has, but as a listener before I came on, my sincere gratitude and appreciation for the entertainment that you've given to me as a listener over the years.
And that is why you got invited on the show tonight. Right there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. That's been Coast to Coast Pinball episode number 200. Until next time, play more pinball, be nice to each other, etc., etc. Say goodnight, Josh.
Good night, Josh. Awkward silence for the
awkward
cut.
Silence, writing down 105.41, feeling the wrath of Teresa coming through the walls.
I'm hearing my text go off of like, hey, you're not home yet? Not home yet?
Did we cover everything?
We didn't cover Fast Break.
Fast Break. We'll do it next time.
No way, man. It takes 2 seconds.
Okay,
and then we'll forget.
We'll do it this time. We'll do it this time. Okay.
But then I think we're good, right?
Good.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we got all the other things. Yep. All right.